So, welcome to Albany County Direct. I'm your host, County Executive Daniel McCoy. On today's episode, we're joined by Elizabeth Podowski King, Director of Planning and Design at Highland Planning LLC. Thank you for being here today. So, we're here today to discuss the Albany County Broadway Multi-modal Transportation Study. Quite a mouthful, right? So, it's an exciting project that promises to create safer, more environmental friendly, and more sustainable transportation systems. For those listening who may not be familiar, we can walk you through this and what the study's about and why there's a need for this type of study. Would you like to jump in a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, thanks for having me, first of all, today. Really excited to be here. So we worked with Albany County and the Transportation Council on the multimodal resiliency study. And I think what's really cool about this one is that this involved a lot of different municipalities. So we started on Broadway in Albany at the intersection of Clinton Avenue and looked at that whole corridor up into Watervliet. So through the village of Manans and into the city of Watervliet. So about 6.5 miles of roadway that we were studying to better understand what's along that corridor, what transportation systems does it carry, how does it feel to be moving, how safe is it to be along that corridor, what different community destinations does the corridor connect to, and then start to think about what kind of improvements could be made to make it more welcoming to be on Broadway. In many ways, that's the main street for the village of Manans. It's the main street through a lot of Watervliet and downtown Albany. So, the study was really looking at how do we make that whole corridor a safer place to be, whether you're moving or spending time on that corridor, a more comfortable place to be, and a more welcoming place to be.
So what's it mean for local commuters that are working, that are looking at this and they're listening this first time and saying, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of people travel on different ways along Broadway and Route 32. So a lot of people are driving. It's kind of the local parallel to I-787. But a lot of people are riding the bus along that corridor too. So that is one of the bus rapid transit routes for CDTA. So a lot of people that we talked to during the study were using the bus system. One of the main drivers for the study was to look at movement along the corridor and make it both safer and more efficient for everyone that's using that corridor to be in that space. So drivers, cyclists, people that are walking, people that are riding the bus. How do we make it work for all those different modes of transportation?
Which is great. So everything's on the table, but what are we looking at for transportation? I know you named a few of it, but what's the main focus, and what do you plan on getting out of this corridor from Route 32?
Yeah, so a lot of the recommendations focus on maintaining the existing travel lanes for motorists so that we're not, creating any congestion or issues for people that commute on that corridor, but looking at the available space and creating more room for people that are walking. So sidewalk improvements, looking at protected bike infrastructure so that when you're biking on that corridor, we're proposing infrastructure that separates the cyclists from the cars so that you can bike safely, whether you're...
I just want to say, why is that so important? Because I hear from so many people,
totally,
when I'm driving with people, are like, them damn bikers, what do they need their own lane? Yeah. They get so mad that you have bike lanes in the road, and they're like, it's incredible. I'm like, okay, but that's for safer. We want to make the infrastructure better so more people use their bikes versus driving cars, or, do you want to it's like that argument that's always out there with people that when they feel comfortable with you, they start complaining about, I had never seen someone in that bike path. How much money did government waste? And I'm like, well, we're hoping to get more people on.
Yeah. And a lot of it has to do with, one, having safe infrastructure where everybody feels comfortable biking, like bike lanes that are striped. I think it's comfortable for experienced bikers, but I have kids. I wouldn't take my kids on Broadway the way it is now, or even with a striped bike lane. I want to be separated from those cars if I have kids or younger people biking with me. And I think what's cool about the Broadway Route 32 corridor is when we started looking at the travel lane widths, a typical travel lane width that's comfortable for buses, that's comfortable for cars is 11 feet wide. There's a lot of lanes out there that are 16, 17, 18 feet wide. So those travel lanes are just overly wide, holding so much extra pavement. If we can just narrow them, we keep the same travel lanes, but that creates all this extra space that we can reallocate to sidewalks, to bike lanes. And for this study, we were able to provide enough space that those bike lanes could be up at sidewalk level and run next to the sidewalks.
And I think you kind of answered this because,
Mm-hmm.
what are the goals you're trying to achieve with this study? And I think you said with this, to expand, put sidewalks where they're not,
Yeah.
to have more friendly bike paths. And so one of the things we always look at in the county, how do we tie in our rail trail with all the other trails to make it convenient where you can go from Voorheesville all the ways to downtown Albany.
Yeah.
Now, literally all the ways to Cohoes and beyond because we
Right.
tie into the rail trail there now on the Hudson River.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, it's really just saying to people, hey, look, there's great stuff out there. And as we're doing these studies, is there a way for somebody listening to say, hey, well, yeah, I travel that, or I'm a biker, or I'm a walker, or a hiker. If they want to put their opinion into it, is it too late for someone to say something on a project on Route 32 or anywhere in the area?
Yeah, it's never too late to say something. This study we're wrapping up, but we're still accepting feedback. ResilientBroadway.com. We can accept comments that way. And I think one thing that's really interesting about what you're saying is Albany County and the rail trail and the Empire State Trail that you tie into and that runs along the Hudson River are really amazing trail resources. And Broadway and Route 32 runs parallel to that for most of it. But once you're on the river, it's hard to get into like Broadway into the city to get to a store, to get to a restaurant, to get to some of the local parks. And so this study is also looking at how do we better connect and make those east-west connections to the river and the river trails and bring people from the river into these downtowns so that they can use some of the services, use some of the businesses that are there, and then have a safe way to travel in between them too.
No, I love that because that's like when we did the rail trail, and the biggest complaint we got at first, and I like Stuart Shake, so I'll pick on them at the same time, right? That they, the one on New Scotland or on Delaware Ave was complaining. People were parking there, walking into the rail trail, and then we came up with an agreement. We leased 2 spots, and we were going to put a path in. Then all of a sudden, the businesses along the rail trail realized, yes, they started taking off, right? And they're making more profit. So they're like, this is a good thing. And then all of a sudden, soon it's like, oh, people can park there. We'll help you. And then we just started honestly seeing other places pop up that would have never have been there that said, hey, here's a captured audience. We're up to like 360,000 people on this rail trail in a year, which is the fastest growing upstate and still is. But what you're saying makes so much sense because the Village of Bananas, they have beautiful parks. They have restaurants, and people, hey, you want to put a sign up and say, hey, want to go get something to eat? You got to go to the bathroom, or you just want to go explore a new little downtown Bananas. What a great concept. Where are you in the timeline? What are the next milestones that the residents should be watching for?
So we just wrapped up the study, and the whole report is up on the Resilient Broadway website. Next steps are really identifying funding sources for continuing this work. So we have put together a cohesive plan and set of recommendations for the whole 6.5 mile corridor and recommended kind of some phasing. So it's a lot to undertake all at once. It requires, NYSDOT owns, and so that's New York State DOT. They are the roadway owner through all of Manan.
So it is fun dealing with the town.
There's lots of entities,
Then Colony, then Albany County, then the state. Hey, we're throwing it all at you.
But I think often we don't get to do these really regional studies that are going to have a lot of impact. And it was really nice to be able to put together a plan where everyone is agreeing to it and saying, yeah, this is the vision we have for the corridor. Let's move forward together in a coordinated way. So next steps would be, one, looking at some of the projects that are happening along that corridor already and starting to implement the recommendations from this study, whether it's through the 378 bridge study that's connecting over to Troy, or the Livingston Ave Bridge that's going to provide a bicycle and pedestrian connection between downtown Albany and Rensselaer. But then also starting to, you need design and some blueprints to then construct the improvements. So it's maybe a long way off until we see a change, but we did recommend some improvements. Like paint can make a big difference. We can start to implement some of the changes in temporary ways. But I think we've identified several state and also state funding sources.
You need all the funding, right?
Yeah.
State, federal, county. So, which I thought was interesting. What you said was even little fixing little things like painting something, putting a sign up. I was surprised. Even when we started the rail trail, they let's just say they debated it for 12 years with my predecessor, and it just sat there. And they had these great big vision, and I'm like, how about we just build the path and see how it goes.
Yeah.
And if people really like it, they're going to yell at me to spend their tax dollars to fix it. And that's what happened. And sometimes just doing little things, or, I'll say this to your listeners. It reminds me of this lady called my office, complaining about the MVP arena, that she couldn't, like, walking down the aisles to her seat.
Mm-hmm.
There was no railing. And I'm like, okay, this kind of makes sense. So I checked with Bob Belber, and he's like, yeah, we didn't do it because it was supposedly going to block someone sitting, watching a concert. And they found a railing company made it right here in Green Island, in Albany County, in Green Island, and they put them up. And it's like, it sounds stupid, but I love sharing that story, because I say to people, I'm not, listen, it's hard to listen to everyone's complaints all the time, but it does have a meaningful impact, because there's things you just don't think about. That to somebody that's going to use this, or, Route 32 that travels on there, or they're with their kids, younger kids or older kids, what do they see that would really work out? Now's the time to speak up, and let and us know what they feel would work and doesn't work in that area.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I want to do you want to add anything? Because
I just want to add one small thing, maybe because I'm a landscape architect, but usually for transportation studies, we're always just looking at pavement and the roadway and infrastructure. But this was a cool one where we looked at the urban forest too, and inventoried the whole urban forest. There's not a whole lot of trees along that whole corridor, which can make it feel really hot and really noisy. You're right next to 787 for a lot of it. And it's not necessarily that pleasant to be out in, thinking right now in the summer, like in the sun, in the heat, with all of that noise. So we have a lot of recommendations as we are creating more space for cyclists and pedestrians. We were creating more space for nature too. So thinking about that corridor as this really welcoming gateway where you don't want to just move through, but you want to spend time. It's, a district where you want to walk from business to business, and trees can make a really big difference in that way.
Listen, I agree with you 100%. I always say, you have to look at it, right, what the facade looks like. And I 100% agree with you. Mm-hmm. It's nice to have a path, but you want to see something scenic too. And especially if you're not riding a bike, or even riding a bike, you like to look around. Right. Or, you're walking your kids or your pets, or you're just out getting exercise. Last thing you want to do is just look at rocks and pavement, right?
Exactly. Parking lots.
Right. And that like, I always say that, like, as I travel the country, because I'm president of county executive, so I'm on a national level, and I always go to, like, when I visit a town or I go to a county, I try to find something like that, and it's just like a little bit of artwork can change that whole vibe, right?
Yeah.
And it's like interesting, because I was not that I want to promote Schenectady County, but when I went downtown, I had to have a meeting down there, and I haven't been by the community college, Schenectady, in the Army. They redid it, and they made like a little park, and it kind of reminded me of like New Orleans and the houses they built there. And I'm like, oh man, they're getting a vibe. That's what we need. So it's little things like art and landscaping that can really just change someone's feelings inside, to just change the whole mood of that person. Absolutely. From being like, oh yeah, this is a frumpy neighborhood, to like, oh, this is pretty cool. It's retro, right?
Exactly. Yeah, I want to spend time here.
Right, and that's what we want. We want in Albany County. Forget what I said about Schenectady and the rest of it. That's all I'm saying. So I do want to thank you, Liz, and for the vital work you and your team do. For our listeners at home, if you're interested in this, please go to our podcast. You can look at the transportation study that's on it. Visit the links in our episode description. Also, be sure to check out other episodes on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, and subscribe so you never miss an update. So again, thank you for listening. This is Albany County Direct.